7 to shoot for the Clippers. Drives in on Bullock. He goes in. That's 4 by the Lakers. Here's Paul George, 6 points so far. Make it 8.
Damian Lillard on George. He goes to work. He spends twice. He is fouled and one.
Recognizing we got to play earlier in the shot clock.
Paul George.
None of that's going to matter, though, if they can't get stops on this end.
That's a tough shot, Paul George. Clippers looking for the lead. George puts it up at the window. It's good. Are you kidding me? Paul George with 20. That's in the first 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. George. Oh, bucket for Paul George. And Payne gets inside. Layup blocked by Zubac. George comes the other way. Here comes Paul George, gets inside, layup, beat back. They're in perfect position to get it. Back to Paul, gallops into the lane, sneaks to the hole and scoops and scores on them. Played on 3 teams the last 3 seasons. George, a step back, foul circle jumper, it is good.
Quickly doubled in that corner. Shot clock at 6. 7-2 run here by the Clippers.
I just took some cash. Right there.
Here's at Florida State, the former Seminole. Paul George is in very deep. Reverse layup is good for Paul George.
Next level defender that the Clippers don't have. Should be more opportunities to attack.
Splitting defender. 7 on the 3-point line. George for 3. Oh, he knocked it down. Paul George with a dozen.
Anyway, I'm not going to put this guy in position to get hurt moving forward.
They still got another all-star out there, and Paul George. Batum got it.
40% shooting for the Clippers inside, forcing it.
He's signaling to the referees.
George off the pick, into the lane, the Euro step, and...
But he hasn't been on the floor in a game since the 22nd of December. How about that?
Not 12 to play. Paul George. Disappears. 4 on the 24. Paul George from long distance. Far side to George. Late in the clock. Step away 3. Wow. Paul George knocks. Carolina, that looks like a 4-corner stall. Uh-oh. And well, look out. Uh-oh. It's Leonard gets 7 points. Clippers are down by 6. George, can he do it again? Yes, sir! George drives into traffic. Pulls up. Shot's good. Hornets down 10. Paul George has stepped back 3. George tries to play a 2-man game.
George once again, Bogdanovich. Step back 3. Splash for Paul George. He is figured out.
The last game that Zubac was in foul trouble, and he just got uber aggressive.
Paul George.
Down by 5. Just joining us, Kawhi Leonard on the bench with 2 quick fouls. George launching butter. Paul George leads the way with a dozen. For 3. Paul George leads the way with 15 on a perfect without the mask. George looking to draw a foul, drills it. George, he scored some points as well. Little step back 3, and George.
It's come playoff time.
Remember, they were 17-3 in 20 games.
12-point Blazer lead. Paul George trying to get it on. Does for 3. Yes, and a whistle. Bulls is 4 of 14 here in the third quarter, so the defense has a spray. Get in there, count it.
Leonard on the floor for LA. George, big finish, and the foul.
George going 2 for 1 to 3.
Oh my goodness! To a 1-point lead, here come the Clippers. George muscling in on Highsmith, and the foul.
Ball just stopped, down 5. Keegan guarding George. George spinning, layup.
And he'll just go into it with the utmost confidence.
12-4 Sacramento run. George, look. George, tough shot. Score for them in game 1. It'll be Paul George.
Into Clipper run, making it now, approaching 6 to play. Oh,
They're starting 5 on the floor. They've led by as many as...
After an emotional and tough series against Utah from Friday night to Sunday, Clippers, there'll be no shot blocking at the rim. ever since. Lead cut down to 8. Goerge in attack mode to the rim. A graceful glide, and he leads.
The putback.
Goerge saw Porzingis step.
The traditional center, and then we'll see more of LeBron and at times, of course, AD at that spot. So just expect Twyford
Knows what we're emphasizing, so it hasn't been too big of a challenge now in 3 games since his return.
Checks the rear view. Long strides, chops his steps into the lane. The 1-2, count it, and the foul. Paul George, head down, shoulders leaning, right to the cup for the 2.
That is just one of 8 from beyond the arc. Kind of has been that way the last few games.
Paul George. There you go. There you go.
Three-point line. Clippers creeping back into it. Goerge from the line to the lane to the rim. Takes it to the house and makes a little noise.
Good defense, but we got a long way to go to get to that game.
Not yet the enemy, but it's getting there. Goerge down the lane to the rim.
As well. Reason why he's so smart, right? I mean, he's highly intelligent, like Paul George right to that jump shot.
The ball reversed to the other side of the floor. They play 2 on 2 on one side.
It's a 4-point lead for the Spurs. Goerge, reorganizing in mid-second basket. Goerge saunters down the lane.
Pace up.
Goerge down the lane. Look out, bus game. Paul George, the step back.
Got to get out of transition and run. He did it earlier, but you need more of it.
George raised himself up and
battling inside. Just out-jumped Zubac there. All 7 of his field goals in the paint. That will count. Clippers have the ball. George driving past man. Paul George for
Paul George was trying to get that ball.
Here is George as he...
The Wizards look like they're in that matchup 2-3 zone right now.
Paul George getting to the...
Knowing that the defense, but the Clips wasn't set, able to drop it into a runner for easy 2.
George, strong drive, back to the basket, lays it up and in. 21 for Paul. In the first 4 games. Goerge on the pull-up, nails a 3. They rank 29th in the league in 3-point percentage. Paul George, a little mid-range.
Happy for that young man.
George has got a little one-on-one, pulls it back, and buries it. Paul George.
Early, make Paul George see bodies.
George crosses, sweeps it right back to Larry Nance. And stick.
Bridges brings it back out. Goerge over Bridges. Another.
Let's figure this thing out and kind of get some stabilization.
George on the wing for 3.
You can't catch up and get back into the picture.
Paul George, pull-up jumper. Got it.
Here's Paul George now back in the game at the 7:32 mark. He goes to work in the paint, fakes a pass, spins, corkscrews, and hits a ball winner.
You have to set the play.
He's still only 25 in his mid-season. Break it off, and the foul.
Oh, no.
That's not fair either.
Hold up.
Paul George broke it on.
Paul George, go-to guy. Spin. On moves, impossible to...
George. George, step back 3, put it in. Drives on McDermott, stops on a dime. He's the mid-range of the season against the Knicks the other day. George, a step away. It's good. The first bucket for Paul George. Oh, what? It's a screen from Patterson. Flings a 3, and it is all systems. KZ, guarding Paul George. George, step back. Oh.
Paul George off the man's 3. George working against Buddy Hield.
And Paul George, the fact that they got a defensive stop and an attack in transition creates a good look at Paul George.
Paul George makes his move behind the back. Pulls up jumper. It's good. All players in the league on and off the floor. George back in the game, making an entrance to the rim. Oh, and gets the bounce.